Start with contracting sprites. Chapter 131, 10,000 Grace Cult. At the viewing hall, they looked up at the intense battle on the big screen. The expressions of the teachers from the various schools went from surprise to shock, and then to disbelief. Their facial expressions changed several times in just 1 to 2 minutes. Finally, someone couldn't help but stand up. Why is it gone? They were just enjoying the show, why was it gone? In the end, was Su Hao defeated by the surprise attack team, or was he defeated by a powerful elite-level sprite? All the teachers felt like their hearts had been scratched by a cat. It was too nerve-wracking. How can it be cut off like that? The big boss of the examiners team was also very helpless. Do you think I don't want to watch it? I want to watch it too. But I can't see the ending either. At the command center, when the staff member deployed another drone to the fire field, they could only see a few water element sprites constantly spraying water. And Tyrant Bear and Ground Wolf who were lying dead on the ground. Looks like he won. Heavenly King Yan smiled. There were actually 3 drones filming in total. In order to film clearly, the 3 drones filmed from different directions and constantly lowered in altitude. Even though the connection was cut, it was worth it. It still managed to show them the most detailed and comprehensive battle process. Certainly, what the teachers in the viewing hall saw was only a summarized version. What was broadcasted live on TV was an even more summarized and castrated version. The missing part wasn't a problem for the big bosses. With just a call, he got to know every detail from Old Wang and Little Deng from the surprise attack team. A special situation. And several combinations of unique skills. When they first saw it, the big bosses were all extremely surprised. If it was a descendant of a certain sprite trainer family or sect who did this, they wouldn't be so surprised. But Su Hao? His background was too simple. He had just an ordinary family background. He completely relied on his talent and hard work to create the killer move most suitable for his sprites. He is very talented in both cultivation and battle. Heavenly King Xia slapped his thigh. I think he and I are fated, he is suited to be my disciple. Yeah, right. Heavenly King Wu said, I think he's suitable to be my disciple. Su Hao clearly specializes in fire element. The special stance of Flaming Cloud Crow and the combination killer move in the Sea of Fire, all showcased his battle style. Simple but violent. And I specialize in fire element. So I would be the most suitable to mentor him. Heavenly King Xia said. Heavenly King Wu sneered. Bullsh *T. Reverie Butterfly is Su Hao's real trump card. The final illusion is the killer move that determines victory and defeat. He continued, there are very few uses of illusions commonly, but since the battle began, Su Hao had been setting the stage. His commanding style isn't simple nor violent, rather, it is meticulous, and he knows how to make use of any environment to his advantage. I want this student. Only I can teach him illusions. I'm the most suitable. It's me. No, it's me. It's not you, it's me. The 2 Heavenly King tier powerhouses started arguing without any class. They were just short of rolling up their sleeves and going for a PK. To decide who could be Su Hao's teacher. At this moment, an examiner next to them said weakly. Heavenly King Xia, Heavenly King Wu, Su Hao just graduated from high school. He still has to go to university. Heavenly King Xia. Heavenly King Wu. Both of them were Heavenly Kings of Tianese Province. Heavenly King Xia was even the honorary principal of Tianese University. But Su Hao was so outstanding, and he would soon be at the important point in his life where he had to choose which university he wanted to go to. If it would hence not be the most suitable to take him in as a disciple, they couldn't let him go to Tianese University. In universities, outstanding students are personally mentored by professors. Based on Su Hao's performance, even in prestigious schools, he would be a student worth fighting for. Only those heavenly kings who work in universities have more time to teach their juniors. Xia Yanghua knew his situation very well. On the surface, he was an honorary principal, but the number of times he appeared at Tianese University in a year could be counted with one hand. He had also taken in a few students, but didn't teach much. It wasn't that he didn't want to. He just didn't have time. He was too busy. Heavenly King Wu was slightly better, but he also had a lot on his plate. Giving Suhao to those heavenly kings who were good at teaching would be the best choice. Sigh, it's so rare to see such a good seedling. Heavenly King Xia still felt like he had missed out on a good opportunity, as he commented, but, we should still ask him which university he wants to choose, so that we can give him some pointers based on his selection. In the sky, dozens of kilometers away from the island where the advanced examination area was located, a mist drifted in the air. In the white mist hid two large sprites. It looked like a tiger with a pair of wings. There were countless fiery red patterns on its wings. Red Flame Kyang Chi. The other one. It had a ferocious appearance. Its whole body was grey and made of stone. Sharp spikes protruded from its wings, and red light shot out of its eyes. Gargoyle Dragon. Both sprites were extremely powerful. Their wings flapped slightly as they flew in the air. There was also a figure standing on each of their bodies. He looked into the distance. Star, didn't you want to become an archbishop? Look, if you can capture all these talents from Tianese province in one fell swoop and give Dragon Nation a harsh slap, you becoming an archbishop would be basically settled, he he he. The figure standing on the Gargoyle Dragon spoke. Her entire body was covered in a cloak, and one could only vaguely tell that she was a woman. Her voice was erratic, as though it came from all directions. The person with the code name Star was a tall and muscular man with a mask on his face. He snorted. Do you take me for a fool, enchantress? This is all credited to me, he he he. There are 3 heavenly king tier powerhouses holding down the fort. He shot a glance at the enchantress. Can you do it? Go ahead. Star came here indeed to look for an opportunity. If they could get rid of the Dragon Nation's talents and bring panic to the Dragon Nation, it would be a great service within the 10,000 Grace cult. It could help him become an archbishop. But Star wasn't at the bottom, like those brainwashed devotees. He joined the 10,000 Grace cult only for their resources, and to become stronger. But life was more important. He wouldn't hesitate if there was a chance. But without a chance, he wouldn't give anything for free. In Dragon Nation, he had already gone to the other advanced examination areas that were easier to deal with. Similarly, he didn't find any opportunity. This was his last stop. The 2 people in the white mist fell into silence. Suddenly, Red Flame Kyang Chi roared. You want to test me? Perfect, let me see Dragon Nation's layout. Star pressed his fingers together and used sprite commandeering, visual sharing in an instant. With the help of Red Flame Kyang Chi eyesight, he saw the trace of abnormality under the calm sea near the island. It's here. Under the sea. A 6-eyed flying fish was approaching at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of the island. Wah! The 6-eyed flying fish rushed out from the bottom of the sea and shot towards the island like an arrow. At this moment, splash! The surrounding sea water lifted, and the water curtain opened its mouth like a huge beast in the sea. Slurp! It swallowed the 6-eyed flying fish, and in the blink of an eye, the sea returned to calm. Hat! Seeing this, Star stopped looking and turned to leave. In a room in the command center. At this moment, there was only Heavenly King Xia and Heavenly King Wu. The atmosphere was slightly solemn. A small fish. Heavenly King Wu snorted unhappily. In my opinion, we should let our guards down appropriately so that we can lure the big fish in. Heavenly King Xia shook his head. That's too risky. As long as any extraordinary level sprite enters the island, it's possible to cause casualties. How can there be no risk to catching a big fish? We just have to protect the candidates with the most potential. Stop saying such things. Fine, you're the boss anyway. He was sullen. Wouldn't it be better to take a small risk in exchange for an opportunity to capture the high-end combat power of the terrorist organization? Certainly. He knew that old Xia had his own considerations. For example, external influences. For example, in the command center, on the 3rd floor. In an office. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. Before anyone inside could respond, the door was pushed open. 2 people walked in. They were all members of the patrolling team, master-level sprite trainers. When he saw who it was, the expression of the big boss in the office changed slightly, but returned to normal in the blink of an eye. He asked with a smile, "You guys are?" The 2 sprite trainers of the inspection team had cold looks on their faces. "You are suspected of leaking confidential information, and now you are under arrest in the name of the Association of Sprite Trainers. Attack!" Behind the 2, sprites leaped out. The big boss on the office chair finally couldn't sit still anymore. An elephant general beside him stopped the sprite from the inspection team. He flew up, broke the window and jumped down. But just as he jumped out of the window, he didn't land on the ground. In front of him was a dark and endless corridor. Ghost shadows emerged from behind him. The next moment, he lost consciousness. In a room only dozens of meters away from the office, Heavenly King Xia shook his head in disappointment. How are there 3 Heavenly Kings here? Chapter 132, Statistics Points. Very few people knew what happened in the command center. Bay Town was peaceful. The glass window on the 3rd floor of the command center wasn't broken either. The college entrance examination ended with only a slight setback. On the 3rd day, the communication wristbands of Su Hao and the other candidates who hadn't been eliminated vibrated. He reminded them that the examination was over. Now, head to the nearest place to leave the island and return to Bay Town. Gurgle. When the little rascal heard that it was time to go back, the fatigue on its face was immediately swept away, and hot tears welled up in its eyes. It was too difficult. He hadn't played with his cell phone or touched his computer or novels for several days. All he had was time. There was no way to shower either. It was too difficult. Gurgle. Reverie Butterfly grabbed Su Hao's hair and urged him. So Su Hao urged the water unicorn beast again. Among the 3 sprites, the water unicorn beast was in its best condition. After all, they hadn't fought much. The number of times he needed to escape and dodge could also be counted on one hand. Only the flaming cloud crow still looked exhausted and dispirited. Well, after all, it was your first full blast yesterday. It's normal to have sequelae. You'll be fine after a few more tries. Su Hao said to the flaming cloud crow. Flaming cloud crow looked up. Is that it? As they rushed out of the island's core, the number of powerful sprites they encountered decreased. The road got easier and easier. It only took 20 to 30 minutes to reach the edge of the island. In the distance, he saw a huge transport plane parked in the open space in front. Candidates had already rushed here and boarded the plane one after another. Gah! A sharp cry came from above. Su Hao looked up and saw a winged dragon with tiny electric arcs flashing on its wings descending from the sky. At the claws of the lightning-winged dragon, there was someone hugging it tightly. When the winged dragon slowly landed on the ground, he hurriedly jumped down and straightened his battle suit that wasn't too neat and tidy. Feng Liang finally saw Su Hao. He also saw Su Hao's sprite. Apart from being a little tired, he actually wasn't injured much. Could it be that he didn't hunt elite level? Feng Liang thought about it. Both his sprites, the lightning-winged dragon and the swordback dragon, had wounds on their bodies. He didn't feel embarrassed at all. Those were all merit points. It was him who hunted 2 elite level merit points. He shook his head slightly. In such a safe environment like the examination area, if he didn't even try to challenge it, what achievements could he have when he went to the new world in the future? He walked onto the transport plane. Su Hao was a little confused. He took a look and then snorted. What the hell was this? Let's go. In the cabin. Compared to when they came, every candidate and their sprites looked sleepy. Some fell asleep leaning against their seats. The cabin was silent. Until the transport plane landed at the airport of Bay Town. Attention all candidates, attention all candidates. The stocky instructor roared at the top of his voice, waking up those sleepy candidates in an instant. Now, take out the badges you've collected and tabulate your points. The earlier the statistics are done, the more my work is done. You guys can go back and rest too. In the open space in front of them, a table was set up. 2 staff members were in charge of the statistics and collecting the badges. Some candidates who arrived earlier than him were already waiting in line. Gurgle. With Reverie Butterfly urging him, Su Hao had no choice but to get off the back of the water unicorn beast and walk forward. He craned his neck and looked ahead. The staff member took a look. Primary Badge 22, Intermediate Badge 18, Advanced Badge 4, Total Score 212. Next. The statistics were done very quickly. Some candidates submitted their badges and left. Most of them stayed behind, wanting to know the results of others that also concerned themselves. 67 primary level badges, 45 intermediate level badges, 33 advanced level badges, and 2 elite level badges. Total score, 2367. Seeing the stunned looks in the eyes of the other candidates, the corners of Feng Liangke's mouth lifted slightly. He saw Yu Zhang. When they heard his result, they were also a bit stunned. Clearly, the number of badges was inferior to his. Su Hao. Su Hao was actually chatting with his sprite? Feng Liangke's smile was a little stiff. Did he not hear it clearly, or? He seemed to have a bad premonition. Finally. It was Su Hao's turn. It was only 2 to 3 minutes, but Feng Liangke felt that it had been too long. He couldn't wait to know Su Hao's result. Splash! He saw Su Hao pouring out all the badges in his backpack. His eyes narrowed. It's about the same number as mine. He was a little nervous. The staff was taking inventory. After a moment, he said, 62 primary badges, 42 intermediate badges, and 32 advanced badges. Feng Liangke then heaved a sigh of relief. It wasn't as much as his. Then he heard. Elite badges. The staff member was silent for a moment, then he raised his voice. 5. 3 more than him. This was equivalent to having an additional 75 advanced badges, 375 intermediate badges, and XXXX primary badges. Feng Liangke felt a little dizzy. The title of provincial champion was slipping away from him. Full marks were no longer his. But this wasn't the end. The staff member spoke again. As the candidate Su Hao defeated the surprise attack team, the total score is calculated at 5 elite level badges. Boom! Feng Liangke's head felt like it was hit by a hammer. His whole person buzzed. They were all echoes of points. By the time he regained his senses, Su Hao was already nowhere to be seen. In the small courtyard assigned to the examination hall. In the room, Su Hao laid down on his back and took out his cell phone from his backpack. The little rascal didn't fight with him over it. It turned on the computer itself. It was very harmonious. The flaming cloud crow fell onto the other bed like a dead crow. The water unicorn beast was also rare and didn't have that much energy. It walked behind Reverie Butterfly, wanting to see what Big Sister was doing. Gurgle. Before it got close, Reverie Butterfly discovered it and turned the notebook around. The screen faced the wall. You can't be discovered writing novels, Gurgle. Only the water unicorn beast horse was left confused. What did I do wrong? Su Hao fell asleep not long after playing with his cell phone. He slept until noon. During this period, no one disturbed him. When he woke up, he saw. Well. The flaming cloud crow was still sleeping. Reverie Butterfly was still playing with the computer. The water unicorn beast was trying its best not to make any noise. Seeing that Su Hao had woken up, the water unicorn beast let out a surprised neigh. It was about to suffocate. Su Hao took a shower and changed into a clean set of clothes. He sprayed some wax on his hair and fixed it. Half an hour later, he said to the water unicorn beast, "Let's go." Neigh. After filling his stomach, Su Hao didn't know where to go for a while. Go back? That was tomorrow. The others were even worse than him, all of them sleeping like dead pigs. He glanced at the class. In the Class 2 Sprite Stream group, the last message was from 3 days ago. Originally, his classmates from the cultural department were asking, but after thinking about it, Su Hao decided not to ask. When others asked, would he be able to claim first place, or first place? Wasn't he a little too cocky? There's no point in showing off in the ordinary class. Let's wait until Lu Ren and the others wake up. Su Hao planned to enjoy the sea breeze. City didn't rely on the sea. Initially, he wanted to go down for a swim. In any case, with the water unicorn beast around, he wouldn't be drowned to death even if he was a dabbler. But thinking about it, he didn't bring a bathing suit, so he couldn't see anyone swimming in this place. There were no cute girls or bikinis. Forget it. With his hands in his pockets, he walked towards the seaside. After completing the big goal of the college entrance examination, his heart felt a little empty for a moment. After a few minutes, before they reached the seaside, old Chen found them. What? Summer King is looking for me. Oh, okay, right away. Chapter 133, University and Mentors. Su Hao recalled the news about Heavenly King Yan. So far, he had seen a Heavenly King. It was the Heavenly King of treading waves, Zhou Whipping. It was a Heavenly King who was happy to guide his juniors. His personality was just like the water element that he specialized in. He was gentle, but when he was truly angry, he would also raise stormy waves like the sea in a storm. Su Hao had once heard from other netizens on the Union's intranet. Once upon a time, a very outstanding junior was killed by terrorist organizations when exploring the New World. Heavenly King Zhou, who heard the news, was furious. He went deep into the New World and searched for several days and nights. In the end, he found the stronghold of the terrorists and completely destroyed it with his own power. And Heavenly King Yan. Some said that he didn't look like a fire element Heavenly King, but more like an earth element Heavenly King. He had a steady personality and handled everything well. This was the reason why Summer Sun could secure his position as the president of the Tianese Province Association. Certainly. Summer King himself was also a veteran Heavenly King with outstanding strength. The more famous sprites were the Lava Dragon Turtle and the Cinder Dragon. The Flame Cinder Dragon was a final form sprite evolved from a flame lizard. It looked like the legendary Red Dragon in the West. Ordinary Cinder Dragon had a wingspan of 7 to 8 meters. As for the Summer King's Ember Dragon, Su Hao only saw a blurry photo on the intranet. It was huge. After arriving at the command center, Su Hao met Summer King under the lead of a staff member. There was another middle-aged man with Summer King. It looked ordinary. It had a big face and small eyes. But Su Hao didn't know him. You can call him Old Ghost Wu. Cough, Heavenly King Wu will do. Summer King, Heavenly King Wu. At this point, Su Hao, of course, decisively expressed his admiration for the two Heavenly Kings. It went on and on. It made the two Heavenly Kings very pleased. Look, this was a real genius. Outstanding and not arrogant. What the heck were those who were so full of themselves just because they had some small achievements? The two heavenly kings greeted him warmly. She asked him if there were any difficulties in his life. They asked him if he lacked any materials for cultivating sprites. Ask him. From time to time, a few words of praise would pop up, making Su Hao feel a little overwhelmed. Although he also knew that he was very outstanding. Your marks for the written test are also pretty good. With your grades, you'll be valued no matter which prestigious school you go to. Have you thought about which school you want to go to? Summer King checked Su Hao's marks for the written test yesterday. Even if Su Hao's marks in the written test were very poor, his performance in other aspects was enough to attract the attention of famous schools. But in the end, there would be something lacking. It was perfect now. My plan is to apply for Whale Island University, Su Hao said. His understanding of universities stopped at the surface. He also wanted to listen to the suggestions of the two heavenly kings. University, implement the credits system. Summer King said, you can get a lot of resources in universities that you can't buy even if you have money in the outside world, but you can't give them away for free. You have to exchange credits for them. You will be given credits when you enroll. After you finish a certain course and pass the assessment, you will receive credits. There are credits for completing the tasks issued by the school. There are many ways to get credits, but no matter how many credits there are, it's never too much. For example, exchanging resources, hiring sparring partners, applying to learn high-level unique skills, even profound meanings, or entering special venues, etc., all require credits. But Summer King paused for a moment. In universities, outstanding students are often personally led by instructors. It's not only the instructors who choose their students, but also the students who choose their instructors. Mentor's choice is very critical. After choosing a mentor, many profound meanings will be imparted to you. Mentor will teach you directly, there's no need to spend extra credits. Whale Island University is indeed suitable for you. The Heavenly King level there is the highest among the 3 prestigious schools. There are many secret sects and profundities that you can learn. But you also have to consider carefully the direction of your future development, the sprites you plan to contract, and so on. Then, you can choose the most suitable mentor for yourself. Su Hao nodded thoughtfully. Summer King said a lot, which he summed up into one sentence. As long as the tutor chose well, the profound meaning of the unique skill could be used for free. He understood right away. The two heavenly kings were both busy people, so they didn't keep him for too long. When he left, Summer King wrote him a recommendation letter. With this letter, you can enroll in school earlier and enjoy the benefits of Whale Island University earlier. Su Hao left. The conversation made the two heavenly kings even more satisfied with Su Hao. The only thing he was a little indignant about was giving such an outstanding student to other heavenly kings. Summer King suddenly thought of his daughter, a third-year student, but not much older than Su Hao. Heavenly King Wu suddenly thought of his second daughter. She was currently in her second year of junior high school, but she could still develop. Suddenly, they turned their heads in unison, their eyes meeting as their gazes clashed. From the other party's eyes. Shameless. Su Hao walked around the town, bought some drinks for the two sprites, and returned to the small courtyard. Gurgle. Before he pushed open the door, Reverie Butterfly sensed him. The moment the little rascal saw him, it pounced on him enthusiastically, and hugged the drink that was not much smaller than itself. He placed them onto the table. He opened the lid with his psychic power and skillfully inserted the tube. Then, he called out to the flaming cloud crow who had just woken up and the handless water unicorn. He got the water unicorn beast to cool the drink first. The three sprites drank happily. Su Hao was rendered speechless. Although it was originally bought for them. But I suddenly have the urge to charge. At this moment, his cell phone rang. Lu Ren, is Thai Su awake yet? It seemed that Lu Ren, who was next door, had already turned from a dead pig to a living pig. It wasn't just a private chat. The moment Lu Ren opened his mouth in the class chat group, he received 99 plus messages in the ordinary chat group. There were also many students discussing in the Sprite stream group. A certain sprite was too difficult to deal with. Whoever died not long after they entered the venue. Su Hao made a bubble. A particularly handsome and arrogant person passing by. JPG. Classmate Z Jun, it's great God Su, I'm dead. Classmate Y Jun, it's Brainiac Su. I'm dead. Classmate Jun, I'm dead. Li Songting, I'm dead. +1 was used for a minute. Until Lu Ren, at what's the score on Su Hao's thigh? Su Hao pushed the glasses that didn't exist and thought to himself, finally, someone has asked the key point. Lu Ren was indeed a reliable good brother. He started typing. It's not a lot of points, just, more than 7,000, I forgot the tail count. He hadn't finished typing yet. Then, he saw. Lu Ren has withdrawn a message. Lu Ren, cough, about that, I don't want to know at all, nor do I want to ask. Why don't we not talk about it? As long as Su Hao didn't say the score, he could still be happy for a while. This was the experience Lu Ren had gained after going through multiple blood and tears lessons. Su Hao was rendered speechless. Looking at the line of words on the cell phone interface, should I send it, or send it? Although he knew the batch statistics right away. But the marks for the third stage didn't come out. That required the scores of all the candidates in the province to be calculated according to their rankings. Su Hao himself wasn't worried. He asked Lu Ren. In the entire advanced area, he had the highest score. The intermediate level primary level area was even less of a threat. The number of entry level high level sprites in the intermediate level area could be counted with one's fingers. If they were to split it evenly, it would already be pretty good if someone with the ability could hunt one. So, I got full marks indeed. Why don't I feel any sense of accomplishment? Su Hao thought for 3 seconds. He came to a conclusion. As expected, the others were too bad at fighting. He remembered that he hadn't told his parents the good news yet. He looked at the time. In the afternoon, that was just right. He swiped the screen, pressed 555, and called Mom Su's cell phone. Hello, Mom. Yes, I've finished my combat test. You saw it on TV? You didn't see me, only Reverie Butterfly and Flaming Cloud Crow. Danger? What danger? It's like going on an outing. No, it's all the truth, don't you think so, Reverie Butterfly? Gurgle. Alright, I'm hanging up. I can go back tomorrow. Su Hao hung up. He opened the class group chat again and sent out the sentence that he hadn't deleted just now. Indeed, only in the group chat could one feel the warmth of home. All the students were talented and had good words. I love it here. I made a calculation with my fingers. It has been more than a month since I last asked for votes. Why don't I act cute and ask for a recommendation vote from you? Sob. Chapter 134, Their Respective Paths. In an city, the candidates returning from the examination hall were like wild horses that had lost their reins. The college entrance examination that took more than half a month finally ended. It could be played. He could have fun now. Lu Ren immediately suggested a gathering, a KTV, and a big sword, cut off. In the first place, Su Hao had never intended to refuse. So he agreed half-heartedly. It wasn't just Class 2 who were having a meal. All the students from the Sprite stream were here, along with Old Gu, Old Chen, and a few other teachers. Lu Deifu had long planned this. He had already booked several large tables. The money was paid directly. They said that they wanted to celebrate him getting into a prestigious school. Yes. Even though the marks for the third stage and the cut-off scores for each school were not out yet, Lu Ren did a simple calculation. The probability of him getting into a prestigious school was 99%. The remaining 1% was to not be proud. Of course, although Lu Ren was so happy that the corners of his mouth were almost reaching his ears, he didn't show it too high. He had to take into account those students with average grades. Most of the students who chose the entry-level examination area were currently having neither good nor bad grades. They couldn't be sure whether they could actually enroll in a Sprite university. After today, those who got in and those who didn't would very likely walk on a completely different path. When they met again in the future, they would be people from two different worlds. Old Su, this is to you. I'll drink first. Lu Ren gulped down a glass of wine. There was a hint of redness on Pancake's face, perhaps due to the alcohol or excitement. They knew their own business. Before his third year in high school, Lu Ren indeed never thought that he could get into a prestigious school. It wasn't easy to get into a key university under the paywall model. But ever since it received Su Hao's guidance, had the full set of Sprite cultivation plans, and even improved after-sales from time to time, the lava tortoise's strength increased steadily. In the eyes of others, Su Hao was at most an outstanding mid-level Sprite cultivator. Lu Ren himself was clear. Can a mid-level Sprite cultivator be so awesome? Little Charcoal Tortoise had started asking for mid-level Sprite cultivators. In comparison, Su Hao's analysis of Sprites was too accurate and comprehensive. What a cheat! He had to cozy up to him. Su Hao drank. Fortunately, the improvement in his physique also made his alcohol tolerance increase a little. He thought about it and asked, "Are you sure you want to enroll in Whale Island University?" With Lu Ren's grades, it was relatively safe for him to go to a prestigious school. But at that place, it could only be considered a phoenix tail. It belonged to one of the ordinary students. If he chose a key university, it was very likely that he would catch the eye of a tutor, and he would be valued more, and he could get a lot of benefits. All these, Su Hao also told him. Lu Ren said, "Old Su, just leave me a slot for my accessory." The dinner table was filled with toasts. Many people came to him for a toast, but Su Hao couldn't drink all of them. Some were happy, while others laughed and cried. He drank cup after cup of wine as big tears rolled down his cheeks uncontrollably. Su Hao looked over. It was a girl. He didn't remember the name, only that it was from class 3. He heard that she failed the examination. The results of the first and second stages were not bad, and they had a high chance of getting into Sprite universities. But in the third stage, because she wasn't calm enough, and for various other reasons, she was surrounded by wild sprites and eliminated on the first afternoon. There were only a few badges. The combat test was the stage where the score was the highest. She almost had no chance at a Sprite university. After an entire year of hard work, the effort his family put in, the pressure was like a mountain. He didn't dare to waste any time training his sprites, training himself, and learning knowledge. Her experience was like a portrayal of an ordinary Sprite trainer. It was just that some people succeeded. Some people failed. It was like the last straw that broke the strong heart. That unwillingness, grievance, and sadness turned into tears that kept falling. There was no way to persuade him. Those who had similar grades as her were never as hard-working as her. And those who fought as hard as her basically had better grades. She sobbed for a while, but wiped away her tears and smiled freely. Although I can't go to Sprite universities anymore, I can still nurture sprites in ordinary universities, and I can also become a Sprite trainer. A year of hard work isn't wasted either. At the very least, I can work during the summer break to subsidize my family's expenses. The income from working as a Sprite trainer in turn is also higher than ordinary people. She raised her glass, turned away, and drank. The others were also very touched. Even a rich guy like Lu Ren. Didn't he work hard? Of course he did. Su Hao could provide cultivation plans, but how much effect could the plans bring out? It all depended on sprite trainers. If you don't train with sprites, why would sprites listen to your commands? Without a strong enough physique, reflexes, and calmness, how could one judge the situation in a real battle? The usually smiling and unreliable Lu Ren had put in a lot of effort behind his back. Successful people would sweat in places that others couldn't see. He hid his sadness and grievance in his heart. To this, Su Hao. They were deeply touched. The total score of the college entrance examination would take a few more days. Over the past few days, the topics discussed by the netizens were always about the college entrance examination and the combat test. The live stream of the combat test seemed to have lifted the mysterious veil of the sprite trainer profession for ordinary people. Some were afraid. Some were excited. There were even more spectators watching the show. The marks for the combat test were not publicly announced, but the Upmaster had collected countless materials and edited the most exciting and powerful battle scenes of the sprites. The original battle scene. He didn't even use any special effects. Among them was Reverie Butterfly. Gurgle. Reverie Butterfly laid on the soft and comfortable nest and fixed the cell phone in front of it with mental power. Its two short arms started to swipe happily. Phone. It was a reward from Su Hao. The little rascal didn't want it at first, thinking that there was a conspiracy. He couldn't take it for nothing. It was even more expensive for free. So after a round of bargaining, Reverie Butterfly bought this cell phone at the cost of playing with the cell phone while training Illusion, and supervising the training of the water unicorn beast, Flaming Cloud Crow, and its future partner. It was much more at ease after buying it. As for illusion training, Dumb Su Hao didn't know at all that he only needed to practice for 8 hours to complete the whole day's mission he assigned. It's not difficult at all for me, Butterfly, to say, oh. On the screen, the energy ball flew out in an arc and exploded into dust and smoke. Wild sprites fell one after another. The scene changed again. Facing the siege of several wild sprites, Reverie Butterfly was calm and peaceful. The two translucent shields revolving around its petite body isolated all attacks. A leaf blade warrior flew in front of it and raised its arm, but it froze on the spot. It fell straight down. As for Reverie Butterfly, it didn't move a single finger from the start to the end. Looking at the comments such as 666, Butterfly's contempt, Butterfly God's cheating, Reverie Butterfly hugged its cell phone and rolled around, gurgle gurgle, laughing foolishly. The idiotic netizen's speech was really too good. No wonder Su Hao liked to use his cell phone so much. The 5th day after the combat test was the total time. At the same time, the cut-off scores for Sprite University's enrollment in each province were also announced. The exam papers and examination venues of the various provinces of the college entrance examination were different. Naturally, the cut-off scores were also different. But there was only a slight difference. Su Hao arrived at school early in the morning. The marks could be checked at home. But as the most outstanding student of City First High and the top student of City, of course he had to give the school face. Let the reporters interview them. Along with them were Lu Ren, Gu Linjiao, and Li Songting. He went straight to the school's computer room, waiting for the time to check his score. Chapter 135, Champion. At the computer room, Old Gu, Old Chen, and the few school leaders were all there. They looked even more excited than Su Hao and the others. It was no wonder. There were simply too many outstanding students from City First High this year. Since the school had produced results, teachers and school leaders like them would be rewarded by the higher UPS. Next year, the school would also receive more educational resources. As long as they could maintain the momentum of their rise for a few years, City's educational level would likely rank among the upper middle class in Tianese province. The school leader looked at them and felt a myriad of emotions in his heart. A few years later, when First High invited the students back as honorary alumni, some of them might already have a higher social status than school leaders like them. The young would surpass them in time. At this moment, the computers had started. The cameraman gave each person a personal shot, before finally moving to the official website interface. You can check your marks now. A school leader whom Su Hao didn't know said after glancing at his watch. The computers in the Sprites Dreams campus computer room were much more equipped than those in the ordinary campus. Even so, Su Hao refreshed it a few more times before he entered the search page and entered his identity information. Looking at the circle symbols loading on the page, Su Hao was more or less a little nervous. A few days ago, he did some calculations calmly. In the combat test, he was first and got full marks. But that was based on his ranking. He wasn't much higher than the second and third place. He was also first place in the second stage, but there were quite a lot of people who scored full marks too. And the written test. He was the top scholar of an city, but not the top scholar of the province. In the whole of Tianese province, he was barely in the top 10. There are too many straight-A students. I've deducted too many marks from my Chinese literature paper, and the 6 sprite subjects are too easy. I can't widen the difference in marks, I can't widen the difference in marks. He was a little worried. What if I'm not the top scholar in Tianese province? He didn't worry for too long. Because his marks were out. Name, Su Hao. Examination license number, XXX. XXX. Contracted sprite, S Reverie Butterfly, Flaming Cloud Crow, Water Cloud Horse. Written test, 97.9, 100. Stage 2 examination. Spiritual force test, 50, 50. Sprite battle assessment, 50, 50. Combat examination, first, 100, 100. Total score, 99.37, 100. Remarks, the first stage has a 30% weightage, the second stage has a 20% weightage and the third stage has a 50% weightage in the Sprite Cultivators College entrance examination. Furthermore, Su Hao saw what was written at the end. First in the province. Provincial champion. After more than half an hour, Su Hao walked out of the computer room a little exhausted. He wiped the sweat off his forehead. He felt very tired. It was much more troublesome to deal with reporters' questions than to take part in the combat test. Mr. Su Hao, I heard that you wake up at 4 in the morning every day. This has been going on for an entire year. Mr. Su Hao, I heard that in order to buy the resources for cultivating sprites, you work 4 jobs a day, and your studies didn't fall behind at all. Mr. Su Hao, I heard. The reporters asked. The school leaders kept praising him. What could he say? He could only agree with them. Be an emotionless nodding tool. Su family. The new house located in the neighborhood of Sprite trainers' families in the city center. His parents had just received a call from their son. College entrance examination, provincial champion. Yes, top scholar. Mother Su said calmly. After experiencing promotions, salaries, visits from leaders, and so on, they were only a little shocked. Dad. Hao really got first place, provincial champion. After being calm for half a minute, Mother Su picked up her phone and decided to share the news with her good friend. Hello, Sister Chen, isn't your Nan Luo taking part in the sprite cultivation examination this year? How are her results? She got into a sprite university? Congratulations! What? My Hauer, Sai, his marks are pretty good. He said he scored 99.37, and it seems like he's number 1 in some province. Sai, I didn't ask him to get such high marks, just staying safe is enough. But he's indeed very hard-working. Mother Su casually sighed, wondering how hard her son had worked. After hanging up, she called another number. Hello, Mother Hao Hao. Hey, right, the college entrance examination results just came out. The child said that he wants to enroll in Whale Island University. Yes, it's the university with the highest cutoff score. We don't really understand too, marks? I heard that his marks exceeded the estimated cutoff score by quite a lot. I didn't expect our child to be so outstanding. The TV station has already interviewed him, and the news will be broadcasted tonight. Father Su wasn't as excited as Mother Su. He just calmly called his relatives to treat them to a meal. The reason? Oh. Su Hao became the provincial champion. Father Su and Mother Su were extremely proud and happy. During his first and second years of high school, Su Hao's grades could only be considered above average. It was all right. However, among their friends' children, there were some who had very good academic grades. They would always show off their children's grades at every gathering. Mother Su wanted to show off, but she held it in. They didn't know anything about the monthly, final, and joint examination results. Those who didn't pay attention to the Sprite stream didn't understand what was going on. So Mother Su held back a big move. College entrance examination, top scholar. Explosive news. She showed off everything in one go. Father Su and Mother Su felt much better than receiving a promotion and a raise. On the campus of First High, Su Hao enjoyed his last quiet moments. After all, when he returned to the campus in the future, he would probably be a big boss. He couldn't live such a peaceful life anymore. How did Lu Ren, Chen Qi, and the others do? Su Hao was familiar with his former classmates from Year 1 and Year 2. Chen Qi, Zhou Yuz, and Maruime also chose Sprite stream. Their relationships were the closest. They had a small gathering a few days ago. Chen Qi grades were better, and he could easily enroll in a Sprite university. As for Zhou Yuz and Maruime, it was more difficult. He would only know the results when the rankings and cutoff scores predicted by the schools were released today. I passed the cutoff score. Lu Ren said, Chen Qi has reached the cutoff score for key universities. Yuz and Ruime seem to be preparing to enroll in Eastwood University. There were 5 Sprite universities in Tianese province. Among them, Tianese University and Yunhua Sprite University were key universities. The other 3 were Eastwood University, Heavenly South Agricultural University, and Heavenly Star University. Among them, Heavenly Star University had rich resources, but the tuition fees were very high, and ordinary students couldn't afford it. When Su Hao heard that the 3 of them could enroll in Sprite universities, he was relieved. As classmates, he still hoped that everyone could get better and better. As Su Hao walked, he browsed through the admission information of the various schools. Whale Island University is preparing to enroll 1,100 students this year. It was nationwide and there were only 65 slots in Tianese province. Lu Ren and the others were ranked 70 to 100 in the whole province. If nothing went wrong, they would be admitted after all. There were 2 other prestigious Sprite schools. He filled in his application form a few days later. The admission results would be announced within a week at most. It was even faster than ordinary universities. Su Hao and Lu Ren agreed to inform each other after the results were out. At the school gate, the few of them headed different ways. Before he left, Lu Ren asked, "Old Su, when do you plan to go to school? I heard that you can go there as early as the 15th of August. When the time comes, let's go together." Lu Ren didn't forget to cozy up to him at all times. After enrolling in Whale Island University, his bootlicking plan had already succeeded halfway. But he heard Su Hao say, "No, I have a recommendation letter. I'm leaving at the beginning of July." Lu Ren. The first volume is over, the ending is a little difficult for me.